I was hoping that, Caleb Sturgis would have been gone by the time our show started, but he's not. Chip's got to be kicking himself for that one. He made Alex Henry look like a Hall of Famer on Sunday. A gut-wrenching loss to the Washington Redskins, 23-20. We're here to talk about it. Eagles now 1-3 on the season. Devastating loss, man. Devastating, Mike.
Well, I'm still sitting here, just scratching my head after yesterday's loss. There's no identity with this team right now. There's so many things that are going wrong, but then at times there's so many things that are going right. So, after yesterday's loss, you sit here at 1-3 with so many questions, and, sometimes you don't even need a human to talk to. Sometimes you need someone like a dog to talk to. And, since I don't have an actual real dog right now, I had to bring out my friend here, my stuffed dog, and I had to have a conversation with him. And, the best part about a stuffed dog is, he's not going to bark. He's not going to give me any feedback, and that's not what I want. I just needed someone to talk to. So I took out all my frustration on the stuffed dog. So probably a good thing that he was a stuffed dog and not a real dog. Otherwise, I might end up like Vic and, end up being in prison. But with that being said, boy, do we have plenty to talk about today.
Oh, yes, we do. And you know what, though? Like, talking to your dog is actually a lot better than talking to most Eagles fans, because especially at halftime of yesterday's game, it was funny because at halftime, I remember texting you guys, and I tweeted about this, and I was like, we're going to win this game, and Bradford's going to take over in the second half. Meanwhile, everybody else in Philadelphia at that point wanted Sanchez in the second half, just absolutely ridiculous, preposterous. And unfortunately, I was wrong. We did make a comeback. Bradford did take over in the second half, so there were encouraging signs. Unfortunately, it's just not reflected in our record right now. So 1-3, and it's frustrating. It really is. I feel like the offense is on the precipice. It's getting there. It just, unfortunately, hopefully it won't be too late by the time they do. But yesterday's loss, I mean, I hate to blame the kicker, but when you miss an extra point and you miss a 33-yard field goal, and the entire time I'm thinking in the game like, oh, my God, those 4 points are going to come back and bite us in the ass. And that they did.
Well, when you bring in a kicker with the name Caleb, I don't know what they expected, but they couldn't have expected much. And, these kicker things, when you lose the kicker, it's tough. I mean, we saw how much it affected, the Steelers on Thursday, and now with the Eagles, and really throughout the league on Sunday. There is just a growing epidemic of bad kickers right now. All these kickers are just missing field goals left and right, and it doesn't stop in Philadelphia with Caleb. It just continues. It's just really bad right now. I mean, it's just horrible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just frustrating right now in just everything in general. The record. I mean, there's flaws in this team, and then just dealing with the fans is just brutal, beyond brutal right now. It's just, I can't do it. I don't know if I want to be on Twitter this week. The Negadelphians are out. You got the fire Chip Kelly stuff. You got all of this going on. It's only 4 games of the season, and like people are very quick to forget that the Eagles were 1-3 in Chip Kelly's first season, went on to win the NFC East. They were 3-1 last season, but they actually weren't that great of a 3-1, and now they're 1-3 this year. So, I'm going to do a keep calm and chip on thing later on in the show. But right now, let's talk about the last drive. Oh, boy. Redskins go 90 yards down the field, and they went through our defense like butter. And, I know people want to blame the offense yesterday, but the reason why we lost was the defense. Redskins go 9 of 17 on third down. Eagles couldn't get off the field on third down. You had this huge time of possession disparity, and people want to just assume that it was because of the offense. But this wasn't really the case, was it, Mike?
Yeah, well, one of the big things that really hurt the defense yesterday was on the first series of the game, the Eagles lost Byron Maxwell, and that was really huge because it really hurt the Eagles' depth there at the cornerback spot. And you know that brought in EJ Biggers to play a majority of the game, so that's never a good sign with EJ Biggers in there. And well, it really proved to be costly because we really just got picked apart on that last drive by the Redskins. And really, the other key was not getting any pressure on the quarterback. And, that's been a little bit of a growing trend here, not being able to get pressure and sacks. And it really showed on that last Redskins drive. And, you throw in a few penalties on the defense there on that last drive and the inability to stop the Redskins on third down. And that's how they were able to march down the field.
I mean, that the first drive was very indicative of how the rest of the game was going to play out. So the Redskins have a 3rd and 19. 13-10 is on the clock. They call it draw play. We have 3 down linemen, and the only man we have in the middle of our defense was Connor Barwin. He gets blocked. Chris Thompson, he goes down the field for like 40 yards, just right down the middle of our defense. No one there. And this has been a recurring problem for this defense. 3rd and longs. We were the worst team in the NFL last year, stopping 3rd and 15 plus. And it just continues to be a problem with Billy Davis. So 13-10 is on the clock, and the Redskins wind up possessing the ball until 7:24 was left in the first quarter. The Eagles' offense then goes 3 and out, and then they didn't see the ball again until there was 53 seconds left in the first quarter. So clearly, the Redskins are just marching downfield. They're picking up 3rd downs. They're moving the chains with the dink and dunk passing game, and the defense just couldn't get off the field. 9 of 17, like I said, and people are looking at the offense in this one, and it's just, we love the defense. It hasn't been a problem this year, but it was a problem yesterday. And again, we just can't put together not only 2 full halves of football, but we're not getting consistency with all phases of the game yet. It hasn't happened yet.
Well, the most frustrating part about the defense is those 3rd and long situations. You would think that 3rd and especially when you're talking about 3rd and 19 and 3rd and 20, that shouldn't be a problem for your defense. But with the Eagles, it's become a major problem. The Eagles actually seem to do well against 3rd and short situations, but 3rd and long, it just doesn't work out. And what really, really frustrates you from the beginning of this game against the Redskins is that draw play on 3rd and 19 on the first drive, because you don't have to go, back too far to a similar play when the Falcons did the same thing against us in a crucial situation in that game where they had a 3rd and long. A very similar situation, actually. It might have been like 3rd and 20, 3rd and 19, and they did a draw play as well, and it worked, and they got a 1st down. So at some point, you have to, figure out and plan against the possible draw.
Yeah, and the other plays that killed us yesterday, you had the swing passes in the flat. You had that play where Cousins would roll right, throw back to the left in the flats. That was killing us. And the crossing routes have always been a problem for whatever reason. We just can't stop anybody on the crossing routes. We don't get pressure on 3rd down. Billy's play calling on 3rd down is just abysmal. And you can't fire him midseason, but my patience is wearing thin with him. I want him gone.
Oh yeah, well, coming into the season, I really felt like Billy Davis was on the hot seat. He actually had some players this year on defense to do something, and he's just been really inconsistent. He had a good game plan there against the Jets, but other than that, I mean, it just really it hasn't been working out for him. And right now, it's the players that are making the plays for him. You got guys like, Jordan Hicks, Eric Rowe, Malcolm Jenkins, Walter Thurman, Benny Logan, Fletcher Cox. They're making the plays. It's really not the scheme. The scheme is an issue.
Yeah, absolutely. People don't want to fault the defense, and it hasn't been – offense has been the problem this year. There's no doubt about that. But just think about how good this defense can be if they got a better coordinator. I mean, Billy Davis is – I've hated him since day one. I've never liked him. He's complete trash. I don't know. I don't know. You can't fire midseason. You can't have a Todd Bowles, Juan Castillo situation. But God damn it, man, he better be gone by the end of the year. I'm just sick and tired of his shit and his stupid scheme and leaving quarterbacks on an island, and it just he reverted back to his old tricks yesterday. Just I'm gonna keep calm. I'm not gonna punch anything.
Oh boy. Well, what's really frustrating is end of the game there, that Redskins last drive. I mean, you got to bring pressure at some point. You got to bring the heat, especially in those third down situations. They just didn't do it. I mean, most of the time, Eagles were, dropping back in coverage, only rushing 3 or 4 guys on the line, and they're not getting any pressure. And with all those guys back in coverage, you would think that, you would be able to, cover the receivers, cover the tight ends. Well, it didn't happen. The Eagles, their secondary, which has actually been relatively good for most of the season, really did not do well on that last Redskins drive.
No, the pressure on the quarterback is why they march down the field. Absolutely none whatsoever. And it's eerily similar to what the first 4 games were last year. Eagles had 7 sacks in their first 4 games in 2014 and wound up finishing with 49, second in the NFL. This year, 6 sacks in the first 4 games. So following a similar route, hopefully it picks up. I mean, this has been an underrated problem that many people aren't talking about yet, and it's because the defense has played really, really well. But it came back to bite him in the ass yesterday. You got to pressure Cousins. You got to force him to commit turnovers. Did he? He didn't even throw a pick yesterday, did he? No, he didn't.
No.
I had the stat before the game that Cousins is 0-8 when he throws 2 or more interceptions. Well, how do you cause interceptions? You pressure the quarterback and you force him to make mistakes. And they got absolutely no pressure on Cousins yesterday.
Yeah, well, a big issue here is that, the Eagles have a very, very solid defensive line. But the problem with their defensive line is it's built to stop the run. So with that being said, what you got to do to get pressure on the quarterback is you got to bring it from somewhere else. You got to either bring a cornerback blitz or you got to be blitzing those linebackers, and they're not doing that enough right now, and that's the problem. That falls on Billy Davis because, if we can recognize it, then he's got to be able to recognize that and find a way to get pressure on the quarterback. But kind of an very, very underrated injury from yesterday's game along that defensive line was Brandon Bear, who was playing in place for his 2nd straight game for Cedric Thornton. And, Brandon Bear had an outstanding game against the Jets. He was like a human fly swatter out there. So him going out with a groin injury early on, that was really a big blow for getting pressure on the quarterback or batting down passes.
Let me ask you this question. Obviously, the Redskins, they had the ball for over 41 minutes. Was the Eagles' defense tired late in the game?
It's possible that played a factor into it. But I mean, it's hard to make the argument that that's the reason why the Eagles defense wasn't ready on that last Redskins drive. I mean, it's just inexcusable that you can let a team drive down the field for 90 yards and take all that time off the clock and then get a touchdown to win the game. So it really comes down to execution there on defense in that situation. I mean, it doesn't matter if they're tired or not. Like I said, again, it comes back to the scheme. And Billy Davis, if his guys are tired, he's got to put them in a position to make the plays.
Yeah, my thoughts on this subject, I think it's not an excuse at all, because you look at how the game played out. You had the 2-minute warning, and Washington had to call 2 timeouts, one due to injury. So you had 3 stoppages. And the defense, I don't want to hear that crap. He wasn't tired. That was the big topic of discussion on Twitter, and I just wasn't buying it. The Redskins were moving the ball on the Eagles all game. I know that, the 23 points, you might look at that and be like, well, the defense didn't play that bad. They were bad. They weren't good yesterday. Cousins, I believe, threw for like 290. They totaled like 400-something yards. I mean, again, the bend but don't break mentality came into play because they were settling for field goals. But they were moving the ball pretty well up and down the field. It was also a lower possession game. A normal game is like 12 possessions. In Chip's games, you have like 16. I believe the Redskins had 11 yesterday, so just 1 possession lower than the normal average. So 23 points, all those yards, all the third down conversions, kept the possession of the ball. Not a good showing from our defense. I love what they've been doing, but not up to par yesterday.
Yeah, not at the par at all. And really, with the defense, it's yesterday was the inability to get off the field on third down. That's what really killed them, especially those 3rd and longs. And the game, what's crazy about the NFL is just a play here or there, or a bounce here or there that could really, determine the whole outcome of the game. And I felt like early on, a critical part was that first series by the Redskins when they picked up that 3rd and 19 on the draw play, because the Eagles were able to stop them there on that 3rd down. They would have gotten off the field, very fast, and the Eagles offense would have been put in a great position to score.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about the offense now. Sammy Sleeves had himself a ball game. How about that? The Redskins secondary is extremely shaky. It stinks. It's terrible. It's pitiful, really. No D'Angelo Hall. So the only good cornerback they really had in the game yesterday was Chris Culliver. But I will say this. Bradford looked a lot more confident yesterday in terms of the way he was working the pocket with his legs. He was bouncing up and down. So he looked comfortable. He was escaping from pressure, something we hadn't really seen in the first couple of games. He even had that little 16-yard scoot. So very nimble. There were some signs yesterday. And obviously the big thing that we saw in the game yesterday was the deep ball. Bradford came in 0 of 7 on deep passing, and he completed 4 of his 8 deep passes yesterday. So came into the game with only 7 deep attempts in 3 games, and he had 8 yesterday. So just to show you there. And the number from Pro Football Focus that I saw before the game, Bradford was dead last in their deep accuracy their deep accuracy percentage stat. Well, he rose all the way up to 14th after the game. So they started throwing the deep ball a little bit more, and the reason why the deep ball was working was because the offensive line was actually giving him some protection, something that wasn't happening early on in the game.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And we forgot about the deep ball there the first 3 games. We were scared to throw the ball, more than 10 yards down the field, but they finally opened things up for Bradford. And, that's something that I really wanted to see them do, because I felt like they were just, almost babying Bradford in a way the first 3 games. But I felt like they really had to just let him loose and see what he can do with that deep ball. And, well, it worked out. Like you said, the the Redskins were banged up in that secondary. Not a great secondary, but at the same time, I mean, Bradford was really throwing some strikes on those deep balls. And you mentioned this, but the other very promising thing there with Bradford was his ability to really escape pressure in the pocket and then, make some plays after escaping the pressure. So, that's definitely a good sign for a guy who's, coming off of two serious knee injuries. There was a moment there where I got a little bit worried because Bradford went down with that, that ankle injury that's been bothering him. So, man, had to breathe a sigh of relief when he was all right.
Yeah, and he was throwing some dimes too. The deep balls that he was throwing, he was hitting receivers in stride. They weren't breaking stride. And his best throw came on the touchdown that got called back. I mean, that thing was beautiful. The strike to Ertz. You had two defenders right there in the front right corner of the end zone. But unfortunately got called back. And then Doofus missed the 3-yard field goal. I mean, it was worse than my hook on the golf course. So that was pitiful. But there were signs yesterday. I know it's the Redskins. It doesn't mean he's back, but it's a start, and it's a little bit more promising. But we got to see it for 4 quarters because, again, we're seeing it for a half and not 4 quarters. So actually, we saw it for like 2.5 quarters because he got going late in the second quarter. I believe it was the 4th possession of the game that I jotted that down. First 3 possessions, offensive line was just in shambles, complete shambles in terms of his protection. So, but they got better as the game wore on, got along, and Bradford, he got going.
Yeah, and Bradford. What really ignited Bradford was the deep ball to Aguilar. Aguilar makes a nice one-handed grab where he bats the ball with one hand and then brings it in. And I guess this will bring us to probably one of the most idiotic play calls that Chip Kelly has had since his time here in Philadelphia. They give Aguilar and Bradford some confidence with that, deep pass. And then all of a sudden they try to run a reverse play with Aguilar and Matthews, and just the horrible execution, but just really a bad time for that play call.
You call reverses when you're struggling to run the ball and you open a drive. You don't call reverse when you have the defense on its heels after completing a 40-yard pass. Dumbest play call in his career. I'll say that. I hated that. I'm gonna relax again. I told myself I wasn't gonna yell on this show, so I didn't want to be like the Dallas game where I just yelled the entire show and I needed cough syrup when I was finished because my throat was so damn sore. So, but that was infuriating. That pissed me off more than anything in the game, even more than the missed extra point and the 33-yard field goal. Just, oh man, I didn't understand it one bit.
I'll never understand that play call. That was horrible, just absolutely horrible. So we better move on because I think if we just keep thinking about that play, we're just going to get more frustrated.
Well, this gets us into this then. This ties to this. The play calling in general to start out games. This has been a trend for Chip Kelly. Whatever reason, first 2 or 3 drives, this has been his whole career basically. We can't move the ball. And not only don't we not move the ball, it's a very, very conservative first 15 plays or so. And that needs to change. I mean, our first deep ball came in the second quarter, late in the second quarter? Yeah. And then they started throwing it more and more and more and more and more. Yeah, this bullshit needs to stop. The conservative, just so conservative early on to start games. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, well, what they really need to do, and this is maybe something that I think Chip Kelly needs to sit down and evaluate about himself and about his ego. I think that when they start off the game, they really have to maybe thinking about going with a slower pace. I'm not even necessarily talking about huddling. They don't have to do that, but they have to. I think the pace has to be a lot slower. And I don't think that they should even bring up the fast tempo until they start to get into a rhythm on offense. Because what's happening is, and it happened again in this game, is they get that first series, they go 3-and-out, and this is after the Redskins had just a long drive, went down and got 3 points, and we go 3-and-out, and we only take a minute 20 off the clock, and our defense is right back on the field. So to start the game, I think that they just need to go back to the fundamentals. I mean, they just got to run the ball north and south. Maybe even throw a deep ball in there or something to try to take a shot early. Maybe throw the wheel route that they like. Maybe screen pass to the running back just to get Bradford into the game. But yeah, they got to go back to the fundamentals early on.
Well, it's what worked in the Jets game, switching up the tempo, and they went on to win 24-17. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you, especially with the way that how inconsistent the offense is. It's not like this is an offensive juggernaut and you can just keep, attacking. It's not like what we've saw with Foles and McCoy and Macklin and Deshaun, and they don't have as many weapons right now. So you got to slow it down. I completely agree with you, and yeah, I mean, it's a great point. It really is. And let's talk about the Murray and Matthews combination now. All right, so through 4 games at this point last year, Murray had 99 carries for 534 yards and 5 touchdowns. So far this year, 29 carries, 47 yards, and a score. So that is it. So what? I know the answer to this. You do too. So I'm going to ask you, why is he not running the ball well?
Well, I mean, right now it all goes down. The offensive line is just not doing a good job of run blocking, and the reason why, Matthews is doing a better job is because Matthews actually he's actually better made for that sweep play. He's does a better job of being able to cut back on those sweep plays. So that's why Matthews is excelling right now. And well, the other reason why the running backs aren't getting enough touches is because the offense keeps going 3-and-out. And when the offense keeps going 3-and-out and you don't have a lot of snaps in the game, then obviously the numbers are going to be down across the board. So, the media really kind of made a big deal about Murray's comments after the game, how he said he wasn't getting enough touches. It was literally like a few word answer here where Murray said, no, I'm not getting enough touches. And of course the headlines blown out of proportion, like Murray's like pissed off that he's not getting enough touches. That's not the case. He wants to be the starting running back. I mean, he led the league in rushing last year. Obviously the guy wants to, play more. So that I think the biggest issue right now is how do they incorporate Murray and Matthews together? Because through 4 games, they haven't figured out a solution.
Yeah, I last week the thing that I did, I charted how many times they ran the ball under center, and they ran the ball 11 times under center in last week's game. Only 3 times in the second half, though. Now I didn't chart this for the whole game yesterday. I only went and rewatched the first half again, so I didn't watch the second half. But in the first half, 2 times under center, that's it. And they didn't do anything. So Chip basically probably just went away from it. And the thing about last week, they didn't throw the ball under center at all, not one time. So, but this is what you need from Murray. You need to run him under center, and you need to run him between the tackles. Now, with that being said, the reason why I think Chip is hesitant is this isn't the strength, obviously, of the offensive line. You got the two guards, and when you look at Kelsey's a guy who's at his best pulling and being on the perimeter and being the athletic lineman that he is. But he's only 280 pounds. And when you're running in between the tackles, you're running to the beef of the defense. And when you got a guy like, I don't know, say Terrence Knighton, 350 pounds, going against Jason Kelsey, that is a huge mismatch. So if you want to run in between the tackles, with Kelsey in there, it's his weakness. So you're playing to the weakness of the offensive line, and this is a problem because you're not seeing a mesh with the offensive line and Murray, because Murray's strength is the offensive line's weakness, and the offensive line's strength is Murray's weakness. So we're not seeing them working together there.
Yeah, no, you said it perfectly. I couldn't say it any better. And this comes down to another issue. I mean, we thought that the Eagles' offensive line had communication issues already. Well, now you're throwing in some injuries. So, I mean, if they had problems before, now they're going to have major problems, because it's looking – I mean, Peters is getting injured every single game. He tried to give it a go against the Redskins, but it just wasn't working. So now all of a sudden you have Tobin, who, you know, started the game at right guard, but now you got to swing him out to left tackle. Then you got to put, Dennis Kelly in there at guard, and now you're talking about possibly Lane Johnson with an injury at right tackle. They think that he possibly, re-sprained that MCL injury from the preseason. So now you're really looking at major problems, because now you're not talking about the guard spot. Now you're going to be talking about how do you replace tackles, and replacing tackles along that offensive line is tough to do.
Yeah, and I think I said this earlier in the show. Tobin really struggled early on as a guard. He actually played really well as a tackle. His run blocking was I hate to say it, but it was probably better than what Peters has shown this year. Kelly really struggled. I didn't think he looked good. He was a problem. Lane Johnson, hopefully he's not out. I mean, he's been the best guy on our line this year. So the injuries are just piling up, and I guess we'll just come across this really quickly before I get to the next topic. So you got Brandon Berry, you got Maxwell, you got Peters, you got Kendricks, you got Lane Johnson. All these guys got hurt yesterday. So Chip's got to go back to the smoothie machine and get some better concoctions, because it's not working right now.
Yeah, so much for the sports science thing right now. I mean, these injuries are piling up, and they really piled up fast in this Redskins game. So they've got a lot of issues that they've got to work on. I mean, some guys are going to have to fill in, and it's not looking good. I mean, never been a fan of Dennis Kelly, and that's not looking promising at all. And like you were talking about, it's crazy, because we were talking about run blocking. The Eagles probably have a better shot there with Tobin at left tackle than the way Peters has been playing.
Maybe you can move Peters to guard. Just kidding. But hey, yeah, man. It's the funny thing about the injuries, though. It's like, besides Kiko Alonso, it's not to the guys that we brought in and all these injury-prone guys. It's guys that have been already on the team. Peters and Maxwell's not an injury-prone guy. But the only guy that's on that list that is actually Kendricks. Kendricks is just always hurt all the time, it seems like.
Yeah, it's a tough one with Kendricks, because really not even sure if he should have been playing in that game. And I kind of feel the same way about Peters. I don't think they should have even tried to play them yesterday. Definitely not Kendricks, because the way that Jordan Hicks has been playing, and D'Amico Ryans has been playing well too, they wasn't really a need to rush Kendricks back like that. Yeah,
I mean, Hicks has been phenomenal. Ryans, I don't really. I think he's been kind of bad, actually. I think he's struggling out there in terms of his coverage skills are just brutal right now, and he's kind of struggling a little bit coming back from that Achilles. He's not there yet. But I wanted to move on to this point because I hope Eagles fans don't take this the wrong way, because I was talking about this pre-show about how this team is actually really similar to the start we had last year, but it's just not reflected in the record. And what I'm saying by this is we have yet to put together 4 quarters, 2 halves on both sides of the ball. Think about it last year. Things are kind of playing out very similar. The script is similar. The Eagles were 2-0 last year in the first 4 games, in the games that were decided by 3 points or less. But this year, they're 0-2. So they're not winning the coin flip games like they did last year on a 3-1 start. What's the one thing that we kept stressing last year and talking about during our 3-1, 4-1 start? We're just like, we're 4-1, but it's like a fake 4-1. We're not putting it together yet. And obviously we kind of got going a little bit until faltering down the stretch. And that's kind of what I'm waiting for this year. And even going back to Chip Kelly's first season, 1-3 start. Then they got going midseason, went on to win the NFC East. So, I still have some hope because I'm seeing positive signs. I know a lot of people in Philadelphia don't want to listen to this right now, but I'm not seeing what other people are seeing. I am seeing strides forward. It's just by the time they, put everything together, I'm just hoping it's not too late.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, we've really dug ourselves into a hole here, and it's just going to be a matter of if that hole is too deep and if we can get out of it. I mean, the offense, they've shown some signs, which is promising. To talk about this game against the Redskins and the positive things to come out from the offense were Bradford can throw the deep ball. And the other thing is that Bradford looked good escaping the pressure. So that's, another positive there. So just got to, look at the positives from the offense when they do put together these good stretches and, just hope that they can even, maybe not even put together 4 quarters, but putting together even 3 quarters might get the job done at this point.
Yeah, and even running down some of the games, right? You had the Rams game last year, 34-28. Now, this was the 5th game of the year. But 34-28, what did that game remind you of? The Jets game. The Colts game that we shouldn't have won, but we did. That's the game that reminds me of the Falcons game. What else did you have on there? You had the Redskins game where we won by 3 points, and I believe we were the team that had the ball last. Well, what happened yesterday? The Redskins were the ones that had the ball last. They won the game. So it's like flip-flopping what happened between last year and this year. And those were the 2 games that were decided by 3 points or less. What was another game? Oh, the Jacksonville game. We don't show up in the first half. But thank God it was Jacksonville. That's why we won that game. And you had the 49ers game where we had a chance to win at the end, but we were just completely outplayed that entire contest. That was the one where we had the special teams, the block punt, and we had Sproles, and you know what? And now that I'm thinking about it, that's why they were 5-1, because we were scoring all those non-offensive touchdowns, and we're not doing it this year. So those non-offensive touchdowns were making us look better than we really were. We really weren't that great of a team last year, and the 10-6 mark, the faltering down the stretch, we saw the signs of a team that might collapse, and it finally happened. Chip Kelly hid behind his record last year. He had the 5-1 his 5-1 thing, and they just kept trotting Bradley Fletcher out there on an island week after week after week, and it finally bit him in the ass. Well, at least this year, you're seeing a 1-3 start. You need to make changes. You need to improve in areas, and at least that's the difference between this year and last. At least you're going to see some changes.
Yeah, well, if you want to look at things positively, you could say, well, the Eagles are just a few kicks away from actually being 3-1 here. They get that parking kick against the Falcons, maybe they win that game. If Caleb Sturgis makes an extra point and makes a 33-yard field goal in this Redskins game, then they win that game. So, like I was saying before, it's always a few bounces here and there that can determine you winning and losing a game. So there's still hope. I mean, they're showing signs of life. I know that people right now, they only want to look at the negatives, but the Eagles have some life. I mean, last night was huge with the Cowboys losing to the Saints, because that means that somehow, miraculously, the Eagles are only one game out in the division. So this division is completely wide open. And the fact that the Redskins are tied for first place after 4 weeks, I think that's all you need to know.
I'm going to say it again. We're going to win the division. There's, I think they're going to turn it around eventually. They're eventually going to flip the switch. Again, like I've been saying, I just hope it's not too late. But yeah, man, I'm really spinning this in a positive sense, am I? I'm like Bill O'Reilly right now, just the spin cycle. But I really feel this way. It's like we're 1-3. People want to look at the record, but look at some of these other teams that are 1-3. We're not like the 49ers. Who else is 1-3? I mean, all these 1-3 teams are garbage except us. I don't think we're garbage by any means. I really think that the start that I'm seeing this year is very close to last year, and eventually they turn it around. And we talked about the 1-3 start in Chip's rookie season. They went on and won 5 games in a row at one point. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities that this team can get on a run, get hot, and do that whole thing. You guys in Philadelphia, if you guys don't want to listen to me, if you guys want to be negative, that's fine. But what I'm seeing out there, I think, is different than what other people are seeing. It is a process, and it's a long season. We're only quarter way into the year, and people are giving up. And it's like they're only one game out of the division. It's just ridiculous. Now, obviously, this isn't a great team. Far from great. But there are signs that they can be a good team, and a good team is like 9-7, 10-6. And I think they can be a good team, but obviously nothing great, but good, yes.
Yeah, well, what really happened was I think that we got a lot of false expectations. And this really happened to everyone from the casual fan to the diehard fan, because what happened was we saw the preseason and everyone, jumped to conclusions, especially after the Green Bay game. And I think after that game, everyone kind of thought, oh wow, well, this isn't going to be a problem at all, gelling all these new guys together, especially on offense. So what's happened is we went into the season with these very high expectations, and now suddenly after the first 4 weeks, we've kind of been brought back to reality, and we're here at 1-3. But people have to realize that it's not the end of the world. And from watching football for all these years, I can tell you right now, it's not how you start the season. No one remembers how you start the season. Everyone remembers how you finish. And the Eagles can get on a roll late in the season, midway through the season, then they're going to be right in the thick of it for the division.
It's what Chip Kelly. It's what Andy Reid teams always did. They always kind of started slow, and they just you get on a roll and they get hot, and it always came at the end of the year. So you can only hope for the best. But like I said, man, I am seeing signs. I don't care. It's other people, they don't want to hear it, but whatever. I'm seeing things that I think the defense is obviously really good, and if Bradford continues to look confident and he keeps getting better week in, week out, again, you don't want to jump to conclusions after this Redskins game. That secondary is trash. But the signs that I like seeing were not only just the deep ball, but the confidence in the pocket looked a lot better, and he's bouncing up and down on his knees, because before he's throwing flat-footed. He's not using his legs. He was using purely his arm because he was afraid to use his legs. But we're starting to see him be a little bit more confident in his knee. And going back to the preseason thing, I made a video saying, let's temper expectations, all that. But there is not one single Eagles fan that wasn't excited from the preseason, myself included, okay? I said to temper our expectations, but, I'm still like, I was still salivating. I'm like, oh man, the Green Bay, what the Green Bay game was Bradford going 10 for 10, and we're like, oh man, he looks really good. He's accurate, all that. But it was only 1.5 quarters of football. So in the whole scheme of things, 1.5 quarters is nothing. He completed 10 straight passes. We see guys complete 10 straight passes in a game, and we all just we all bought it, and obviously it's turned out differently so far. So that's that. Everybody bought into the preseason, even the guys that know football, and they bought it too. So I don't want to hear that no one did, because they did.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you. And I guess we have to talk about this whole thing, since some people think that Sanchez should be starting right now, and I can tell you that after watching this Redskins game that Bradford is not the problem. If there's any type of problem, you got to contribute to the offensive line right now, especially early on. This first few series in this game, Bradford was just getting no time to throw the ball. He was getting annihilated back there. You can probably make the case that he was maybe holding on to the ball a bit too long there early on, but at the same time, he wasn't throwing an interception, so you got to give him credit for that. But I think that the game really went along, I think that the key with Bradford going forward is going to be giving him confidence, and I believe that he got that confidence with the deep ball and completing those long touchdown passes. And you could see that he was getting fired up after those touchdown passes. So I think they got to keep him happy. And even though our line is really, really bad at run blocking, the one thing they've been somewhat decent at is pass protection. So if they can let Bradford sit back there with a pocket and let Bradford open the game up a little bit, I think that they're going to be just fine at the quarterback spot.
Yeah, halftime. Oh man, Twitter was on fire. It was on fire. Sanchez, we want Sanchez. Blah 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 blah. And I it was so funny because the tweet, I was like, not only are we going to win this game, but Bradford's going to be one that's going to carry us, because I saw the signs in the last two drives. The offensive line finally gave him some protection, and he was throwing some strikes. Unfortunately, he had the fumble with the reverse and the missed field goal. But if you think about it, it was only 13-0, and the Redskins are a team that their trend this year at home has been to start fast in the first half and fade in the second half. And the script pretty much played out the way I thought it would. Unfortunately, at the end, the Redskins won the game. But, yeah, man, some of the comments I was receiving, are you high? Are you drunk? Are you stupid? Blah, 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 blah. We're not going to win this game. What are you talking about? And then it's like, basically third quarter, we're moving the ball up and down the field. And unfortunately, we didn't win, obviously. But man, that's the problem. I hate dealing with Eagles fans sometimes. Like, when they lose, it is the end of the world. We're not going to win a game again, and we want Sanchez in there, and we got no patience. None. Negadelphia.
Oh yeah, definitely Negadelphia after this game, man. But what's kind of crazy about this is that, Sanchez would be great if we want to run the offense even faster, because that's what Sanchez can do. I mean, I'll tell you what, I'll give him credit for that. he can move this offense the fastest that I've seen anyone ever move it. But, well, there's a bit of a problem with that. I mean, we're complaining about the Eagles holding the ball for 120 on their first series of this game. If Sanchez is in there, we might hold the ball for 30 seconds. So, and the other thing is, I mean, what has Sanchez done here? Okay, all right, he beat up a Panthers team on a Monday night game where it was just really a great performance by the defense and a bad Panthers team. Okay, and he did an all right solid job there against the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. But again, that was an outstanding defensive performance. So, and I can tell you what else Sanchez has done. Well, he's the guy that essentially ended our season last year in Washington.
Yeah. But, people just want him in there. They just think he's the savior, But, yeah, man, just frustrating. It really is. But Bradford's got these two other games coming up against, defenses that can't stop the pass. The Saints secondary is abysmal. The Giants, I believe, I don't know if this is still true after yesterday, but coming into Sunday, they were the worst pass defense in the NFL. So you're going to have two games coming up. Bradford played well yesterday, and you got two more games coming up where Bradford has a chance to excel. And you're hoping that if he plays well in these two games, it doesn't mean he's back, but you want him to play well so you get confidence going forward. And especially, the second half of the season, if they do want to turn things around, he's going to have to be confident and play really well in the second half.
Yeah, well, the thing about Bradford is, through the first three games, he was kind of flatlining. But right now, after this game, his quarterback rating skyrocketed. He had like a 122 some quarterback rating. So that's what you want to see. You want to see his quarterback rating to continue to incline or stay at a high level. So you want to see games where he throws 3 touchdown passes and no interceptions. And I can't stress how important the no interception line is.
Yeah, and if the running game continues to struggle, you may have to throw the ball more, which, God damn it, I hate that thought. but if the line can't, because it's evident right now that this line cannot run block at all. They're a lot better in pass protection than they are run blocking. Run blocking, they're the worst offensive line in the league. But pass protection, they're kind of, the last two games they've been better. The first two games, I know Bradford was only sacked once, but I didn't think the line was that great pass protecting. But the third game against the Jets, really, really good. And yesterday, not good on the first 3 drives, but really good on the last, 9 possessions of the game. I think the Eagles possessed the ball 12 times. So, the Eagles had it 12 times, Redskins 11. So, as long as they can keep protecting them, I have confidence in Bradford moving forward.
Yeah, they gotta really just let Bradford air it out. I mean, let the man throw the ball. He's really got a cannon back there, and he's accurate on those deep balls. So I think they just gotta let it fly and see what happens.
Yes, sir. All right, so I got nothing else to talk about. We pretty much jam-packed everything we wanted to say into this one. And I'm happy because we kept calm. We kept calm. We chipped on, and we didn't yell in this show. We didn't get angry. So no angry stuff today. The reason why I didn't want to get angry is because I know everybody in Philadelphia is angry, and I don't want to be like that. This wasn't like the Dallas game where it was like the most pathetic effort I've ever seen. I am seeing signs. I'm telling you guys, just stay patient. And with that being said, the funny thing is I'm not feeling good about the Saints game. That's so yeah. We struggle against elite quarterbacks who get the ball out really, really quick. And what does Drew Brees do? He's elite. He gets the ball out really, really quick, dumps the ball, moves the chains. So those are the guys we struggle against. But we'll see what happens. Obviously got to win it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, at this point, there's not much room for many losses. So they really got to start to put those wins together.
Yep, they basically got to go 8-4. So it's possible, obviously, but it's not going to be easy by any means, and it is an uphill climb. I mean, we are only 1 game back in the division, but we're essentially 2 back because you're 0-2 in the division, 0-3 in the conference. So obviously, you can't lose. Like you said, maybe one more division game you can lose, but you really can't.
Yeah, no, the rest of the division games are really going to be critical, and I'll tell you what, I mean, can't stress how important finishing strong in this league is. Last year, Eagles are sitting at 9-3. We're talking about home field advantage possibly, and then they just tank the rest of the way, and they don't even make the playoffs. So a 1-3 start is not the end of the world. They just got to figure out how they can put it all together for an entire game and do it consistently. And it's better that they do that at the end of the year than have it working in the beginning of the year.
Yep, absolutely. So this pretty much brings us to final thoughts time. So I'll let you start that off.
Yeah, well, I got to say that, Philadelphia fans and Eagles fans never cease to amaze me. I mean, I'm seeing tweets, thousands of tweets about after yesterday's game how we should fire Chip Kelly. I mean, come on, people. This isn't Joe Philbin here. This is Chip Kelly. I mean, he's still a very smart man. And I don't think that anyone can doubt that. He has a lot of football knowledge. I mean, he worked his way all the way up from New Hampshire to coaching the Philadelphia Eagles. So let's not panic yet. I mean, this is a guy who went 10-6 in his first 2 seasons in the NFL, and now he's off to a 1-3 start in his 3rd season. But yeah, I'll let you guys know right now, so this doesn't surprise you. But not only is Chip Kelly going to be here for this season, even if they end up doing horribly the rest of the way, he's going to be here next season too. So, yeah.
Get used to it. Get used to it. He's here to stay for a little while. Obviously, if he does this for 3 or 4 years where he struggles, he'll be gone then. But he is far, far, far from being fired. That is for sure. And my final thought that I wanted to say, the other tweets that I was seeing, we should do the Sam Hinkie tank job. So people want to tank, and they want Jared Goff from California, the quarterback. First of all, this quarterback class in this year's draft, it stinks. There's no Mariota, there's no Winston. These guys aren't very good, okay? I don't want to tank. I don't want any of these quarterbacks. I'd rather might even have Johnny Football than any of these guys. I might rather have Robert Griffin. Okay, maybe not. But you get the point. There's no franchise-saving quarterback in this year's class. Jared Goff, to me, is the best one. Some other people think Christian Hackenberg. I mean, there's a couple guys, but none of them are going to be elite in my book. So I don't want to tank. I don't want to do the Sam Hinkie project. I want to go 9-7, win this division, and hopefully win a playoff game. That's what I want. You guys, if you guys want to give up on the season, that's fine. But I'm going to stick around. Mike's going to stick around. Jeremy's going to stick around. And if you be patient enough, things might turn around.
Hey, maybe the last season was the year of the tank. Would tank last season, and we would have got Mariota.
That's true. That's true. What the hell's Chip Kelly doing, man? He should be fired for not tanking last year. Terrible.
He didn't You didn't think it through, no. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we're gonna be here. We're diehard fans. I like we've said for most of the show. I think that people are really looking at the negative things and really taking it to an extreme level. And I think that they have to look at the offense and look at the positive things that they're doing, because when the offense does put together, good stretches, they can put up points fast. So just imagine what they could do if they just had, even that for 3 quarters. They would put up a lot of points. And with our improved defense, it's going to turn into wins.
Yeah. So that's that. That's it. And we're going to conclude the show. This show's already been way too long. There's no way people are going to watch all this. We got like 55 or so minutes. I don't know how long it went. It was pretty long, but that's what she said. So yeah, with that being said, that's Mike Owens. I'm Adrian Fedkiw. I hate that's what she said jokes, but I did it anyway. We're out. Later. Go Birds, baby.
See ya.